In 1996, National 9 to 5 got a very small amount of money to do an outreach and education project about sexual harassment here in Colorado. But the 40 low-wage Colorado women who founded 9 to 5 Colorado that year actually had a much broader vision, a vision of building a membership organization to really create change on the issues that directly affected them. And the Chinook Fund was the first local foundation to support that broader vision for 9 to 5. The fact that Chinook has an activist-led grant-making committee has been really important for 9 to 5 because it means that people are examining our work and evaluating our work who understand what we're doing in the community and appreciate the kind of organization that we are as a grassroots membership-based organization. 9 to 5 has definitely been part of transforming Colorado. The voices of low-wage women that were not heard before, women who were invisible to the power structure, are now heard on a regular basis on the issues that affect them and their families.
Chinook's funding and our relationship with Chinook has actually been very integral to how Rights for All People has developed. Chinook gave us our first grant in 1996. When we first started doing this work, people were afraid. People wouldn't cop to being a voice of undocumented immigrants, and we thought that it was very important to be upfront and to say that undocumented immigrants are completely deserving of all the rights and responsibilities of full participation in our shared communities. And I think that Chinook was the only funder who not only accepted that, but encouraged that. And now it's widely accepted that, of course, immigrants speak for themselves, they organize themselves, and they're politically savvy, and yes, all of us working in immigrant rights, allies and immigrants together, we can make change by accepting the fact that we're powerful and using that power. I do think that there has been an opening for those kinds of ideas, and we've been asked to propose legislation. That never happened before. You know, all of us working together, we've created a change. And the battle's not won, but the landscape looks really different.
Chinook has been so critical to CVP's history, I think in a lot of ways. A lot of, more mainstream funders, I think, want to be funding social services, but it's much harder to find down-to-earth funders that recognize that we're not just about putting Band-Aids on the issue, or not just about helping people, providing them with resources, but we are invested in their liberation. We're invested in helping them find their own power again. Like recently we worked with Colorado Progressive Coalition on some issues of police violence in Denver. And that's not something that we're getting funded by the government to do, or other foundations right now. And so Chinook's money is supporting, organizing efforts like that we feel like are critical to people in our community.
The one thing that makes Chinook unique is in being a funder is that we do have an activist-led grant-making committee, and the decisions aren't ultimately made by the program staff, that then reports to their board. The decisions are actually made by community members who are accountable to their constituencies and to their community.
It was such an honor to be a co-chair of the grant-making committee because I got to see kind of the breadth of what organizing looks like in the state of Colorado, and that how it does look really different in rural parts of Colorado. Different communities organize really differently, and for us to all come back together as a grant-making committee and unpack that a little bit and talk about how, does this count as organizing because it feels really like it's infused with art, or does this count as organizing because, it looks like it's happening in people's kitchen, and learn a lot from all the different kinds of organizing that we get to see. It's such a privilege, and I think that's why people walk away from the grant-making committee realizing that they have been completely changed, myself included.
A lot of other transformation happened around just understanding the different intersections of oppression. I think we all come to the table with our own identity politics. And I think a lot of times, what defines us as, I guess, well-rounded allies within a large movement that encompasses a lot of identities is understanding our own privilege as well as our oppression and how those two intersect. For me, who, grew up low income, poor black male on the east side, that may look like a traditional oppression that everybody should relate to. But then when I look at friends at Chinook who grew up low income and queer identified or low income and women, you start to understand that, okay, it was rough for me, but I still have a lot of privilege. And so I just can't, turn my back to my privilege, because then that means that can impact some of my friends within the community. And so what Chinook was able to do was to help us to have these conversations about how we're gonna, be together in a community, share an analysis, be allies with one another. And I think that's what made Chinook attractive for, a lot of folks, because it was not just a community that just kind of seemed, only welcoming of one, group of activists, but it was welcoming to all activists.
The work that Chinook has done around co-creating a space to unpack a lot of those different pieces and really affirming for each of us that we are experts on our own lives and we are experts on our experiences, and that in sharing that expertise, we can get clearer for ourselves about what it is that we have to offer a collective liberation.
Through working on the grant-making committee and the years that I did spend here, I think it just really deepened my personal commitment to take the decision-making out of the hands of the people who are doing the giving and going to the source to sort of see what needs to change and what needs to be done. We have to hear from the people on the ground. That's sort of a value that I've always held, and through my work with Chinook deepened pretty greatly, to the point that now, and not completely, but I almost always in sort of my philanthropic work like to see that the people that are being impacted are having a say.
People who are donors are looking and desiring the opportunity to be more involved and to work in partnership and to learn how to be allies, not just in terms of writing a check, but in living their lives and supporting, the organizations. Because I believe, for people of privilege like me, there is a role for us to play, not as the leaders, not as calling the shots about who gets the money, but still an important role for us to play to round out the whole, to be part of the team, to be in partnership. And I think through the insights I've gained through our classwork, I've realized I love Chinook. It's doing great work. It's a gift that I can give to other people, to tell them about Chinook and to just straight up ask them to support Chinook. I have learned so much, and my perspective has changed, and that's probably been the biggest gift of being involved with the Chinook community.
There is no way I could be well versed on all of the different areas that Chinook funds, and that I can't be an expert in all those areas, but that I know that the grant-making committee has at least one person who is.
It's a unique funder in the state of Colorado. We need it. We absolutely need it, because you know what? Colorado is sort of the middle of the continent, is no man's land for a lot of progressive funders that kind of live on the coasts, and Chinook needs to be that messenger to the national funders about what's going on here and how we can make change.
Core mission, we still need to be around for the next 25 years to give money to new groups who are starting, who are dealing with the issues of their day.
That's what Chinook does. It helps you understand the universal struggle of all peoples who are not, looked upon as being at the top of the dominant culture, who have everything going for them.
How are we going to make social change if we don't financially support the organizations that are doing the work on the ground? And, we can't build a mature, insightful, effective movement if we don't have people that are consciously reflecting on, what it means to make change.